Susan Fedorko knew she was adopted, but it didn't really start affecting her in a major way until she was discovered by her extended family when she was in her 40s. Once contact was made, Susan's view of who she was and who she was connected with expanded exponentially. Not only did she discover that she was affiliated with a local Native American tribe, but her first family was more than she ever expected. Find out more this time on Adoption Uncovered.
Well, hello, and I'm so happy to talk to you for my podcast today. If you could start with your name and sort of tell us a little bit about how adoption has affected you in your life.
Okay, hello. I'm Susan Fedorko. I currently live in Minnesota. I'm age 61, and I've been adopted pretty much all my life. I found out I was adopted at an early age, at about 5 years old, 5 or 6. I saw a birth certificate on the table, and they were talking about it, and they were talking about this baby Veronica. And they quickly was pretty quiet about it, and I found out later on that it had to be the fact that it was me that they were referring to as being baby Veronica. Adoption has been a positive thing for me all my life. The only thing that I would say that there is an exception to that is that I did not get to embrace my culture, which is being Native American. Otherwise, adoption was a pretty positive thing for me. I grew up in a very wonderful Caucasian family, attended Catholic private school. I pretty much had things that I wanted and needed in my life, and learned how to work hard to strive and how to obtain things. Yeah, it was a pretty positive upbringing. When I was at the age of 40 is when I got a call out of the blue one day, and it had been, I had no idea who the caller was on the other line. It was actually my half sister calling me to tell me that she was trying to reach a Susan Fedorko who was at the age 40. She had found my information on an adoption search site for reunion board. I had left my information on an adoption reunion board, which you could put on as much information as you knew about it. I must say I live in Minnesota, so Minnesota is a closed adoption law state. We are unable to unseal our birth records here in Minnesota. So yeah, I was always curious about my background and wanted to know who my birth parents were. From then, I guess I gained my identity after being able to see who they were. Both of them had passed away before I was reunited with my half siblings. So yeah, my sister Sarah reached out to me one day, and I ended up being able to open the gate. No, I would say open the floodgate gates to pretty much all of the answers that I needed to in my life that defined me, and it all made sense then about why I am the person I am today. Even though I didn't know them in life, I picked up the artistic qualities in my birth mother's side of the family. My birth mother was famous. Actually, she's the first Native American supermodel of the 1967, 68, 69 era. She modeled for Eileen Ford. She was considered one of the top models. Her face was as well known as Twiggy's, but her name was not as well known. as Twiggy's was. Her name was Kathy Damon.
And how did that connection really make you feel and make you feel about yourself?
The connection made me feel real for me, who I resembled, because I know I resembled my mom and I resembled my birth dad. With that phone call that I got from my sister Sarah, she was also able to tell me who my birth father was. His name is Tom Conklin, and he passed away as well. Shortly after Kathy died, I think a couple of years. Kathy died in 1997, and I was not found until 2001. So yeah, it tied everything up for me because I was able to get an idea of who each of my birth parents were, and just, embrace the things that I inherited from both of them. So I see that, hearing their stories or hearing about their stories, um, it was able to coincide with most of my beliefs and values as well.
Even though Susan knew she was adopted as she grew up, it wasn't a common topic of conversation. She was curious about her first family and her ethnicity, and put some effort into searching when she was 18, but didn't find out the answers to her questions until much later. She was able to find out a lot of the information about her first family, and it helped her understand herself better.
When I was born, Catherine was 16 at the time, and she kept me for 11 months. And she was still in high school, and she went and returned to high school one day. And her mother, which would be my grandmother, Mary, packed me up, brought me to Catholic Charities and adopted me out, all without Catherine's knowledge of it at all, which devastated her. So I think, broke down and decided to move out of Mary's house, and she moved in with Mary's brother, Uncle George. Uncle George is a very well-known, accomplished artist. He's one of the greatest Native American artists of the 20th century. When they opened the Smithsonian back in 2004, I believe it was, the Native American Smithsonian, he was one of the two main featured artists when they opened it up. So yeah, Kathy moved out east to live with Uncle George after my being adopted out, and she happened to be a portrait model for George and several artists. And since he was in that crowd, there was a fashion illustrator from the New York Times that saw Kathy and sketched her and used her as a muse. And that's how she ended up becoming discovered as a model, is that Antonia Lopez was sketching her and promoting her, and she ended up becoming an Eileen Ford model then. I didn't know any of this until I found out everything from my sister Sarah. So it was, and then of course I was at the age 40 when this happened. And like I said, I'm 61 now. So I've had a great deal of time to digest my culture, the family, both sides. Like I said, when I get together with both sides of the family, um, I morph into that daughter that was Catherine's daughter. And ironically, Catherine called her Cricket. So everybody in my biological mother's family calls me Cricket, which is unusual. But when they yell the name or say it, I turn right away. I know exactly who they're calling for. So
it's kind of part of you.
yeah, it's kind of part of me. So, but I was going to tell you about Uncle George. So just this past May in 2023, they made a postage stamp for Uncle George, a forever stamp. So he is on a forever stamp with his artwork. He has 5 different types of paintings that he did, and they're all 5 are featured on the stamp, Forever stamp. So yeah, he was very well known artist and very accomplished with his work in Native modernism. So, like I said, that's why I thought that I had gotten the artist qualities from my mom and my Uncle George and that side of the family, because that entire side of the family seems to be very artistic. And I always wondered all my life, why did I like art so much? Why didn't I not like sewing or the baking class? Or I mean, always trying to get stuck in an art class. So yeah, it was the discovery. I was just able to thread everything together with um, why I am the way that I am. So, and for me, that's been a good positive thing.
And how did that artistic bent kind of express itself in your life? Like how did you have an outlet there?
Um, well, I've always had some kind of project going on. Whether it be sewing, I just sewed my granddaughter's little native dresses, which I picked up material at the powwow in Grand Portage, Minnesota this past August for the annual powwow. All my life, I have drawn, sketched, painted in all kinds of mediums. Now that I'm retired, I've been retired now for about 3 years. And that's what I do in my downtime is um, try to do a lot of paintings, and I give them away and then I sell them as well. So I do beading and jewelry. Everybody in the little local town here that I'm in, I'm on a lake. And everybody around the lake, whenever they break something with their jewelry, they always bring it to me to get it fixed. And
Nice.
so, yeah, I'm pretty crafty, pretty creative. And like I said, I just realized that that's how I that's how I would have ended up being, whether or not I was raised in the Damon family or the Smith families.
One of the pieces of information Susan learned when she finally connected to her first family was that she was Native American. Connecting to her tribe was an important part of her identity.
So, can you talk a little bit more about the Native American side of you and what you were able to do? Like, how did you get to know about that side of you, and what did that mean for you?
Sure. When I talked to my sister Sarah that night, because I got the phone call from her at work on my work voicemail, um, I called her back that evening and was able to find out all the information about my biological mother's ancestry, her background. First, getting the blow that she had been passed was devastating, because I knew I had to build my own idea and theories about my adoption without her. So, my journey kind of went off to a different path. So, um, yeah, she was able to give information to me about my aunts that were still alive, that were living in Minnesota. Um, Catherine, my birth mom, died about 40 miles from the house I was living in and that I had been living in for over 28 years. My Aunt Elaine I connected with her, and she was able to tell me information about my enrolling and into the tribe, which is the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, which is Ojibwe. I belong to the Grand Portage tribe up in the very northeast corner of the state of Minnesota. Um, if you go 5 miles north of Grand Portage, you'll hit Canada. So it's quite a ways up there. I was able to get information about how to get enrolled. I was able, like I said, she shared information with me about who Tom Conklin was. And I found out that Tom Conklin was also enrolled in the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. However, he was enrolled in the White Earth tribe, which is a branch of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. We're all under the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. So yeah, I had my choice of which tribe I wanted to be enrolled in, which was amazing. My Auntie Elaine, which would be Kathy's older sister, told me that um, she wanted me to be under her mother's tribe, which was Grand Portage. So I made plans to go up there and meet with the tribal enrollment clerk up there to get enrolled. And here I had found out that I had been enrolled since 1992, which is odd because I was not contacted until 2001. But somehow my enrollment, and I think my biological mother, Kathy, might have had something to do with it because I was enrolled as my name as Susan Smith Fedorko. How would have anyone known that I was a Fedorko other than, probably Catherine? So, yeah, I got a benefit to be being enrolled back in 1992, which um, was amazing to think that I had been enrolled all those years and didn't know
Right.
because I was raised in a white Caucasian family. I did not know my culture at all. And the first couple of powwows I attended, I was just very quiet and took back and was like a sponge, just trying to soak it all in. But before I made it to that powwow, I met my Auntie Barb, who lived up in Grand Portage, in the Native American cemetery where where my birth mother has been buried, along with all of the other family members. So when we went there, immediately, okay, Kathy died of emphysema, COPD. I didn't know that bad lungs ran in the family. So when we went to the grave site, my Auntie Barb reached in her purse, pulled out a pack of cigarettes, opened up a cigarette, tipped it over, and sprinkled the tobacco into my hand. And she said, "You need to give an offering of tobacco." And of course, me being Caucasian all my life, I have no idea what's going on. I'm thinking to myself, she died of smoking. It's like, is she missing it that much that you think I gotta give it to her? I had no clue what the spiritual tobacco offering was. So those are some of the things, like I said, that I lacked growing up. That it's taken me 20 years to try to embrace it. But trying to get enrolled into the tribe, like I said, I was enrolled in 1992 and didn't find out until 2002 that I was enrolled. With that enrollment in 1992 came a lot of funding per capita accumulated over the years of period of, I believe it was 11 years. And they said that when they discovered that I was considered a long lost tribal member, they said I would be getting that money. Well, eventually, tribal resolution on it is that they were going to consider my enrollment in 2002 my first and only enrollment. That was definitely a sting. It didn't ruin, though, in trying to embrace my culture. The only thing that it ruined for me was that there are politics in the tribe, just like there is politics pretty much anywhere else. So, um, yeah, I think I was a little bit more eyes wide open on um, to try to be leery, not,
Mm-hmm.
um, approach the tribal council, tribal everything, with kid gloves. just mainly because, like I said, it was unfortunate. It would have been nice, but finding out I was Native anyways from 1992 was a present in itself. So it added a lot of strength to me, knowing that I had been a part of the tribe for that long, and they couldn't take that away from me. So
And what does that mean to you? How does that look? Like, do you go to certain tribal activities or do you connect with people or what does it
I
look
do.
like?
I do. I connect with the the powwows and my family quite a bit. Every August they have the rendezvous powwow located in Grand Portage, Minnesota. And I try to attend every year. Um, Now there's been a few years that I haven't been able to make it, and then I make it like that third year. So over the years, I just embrace it by going to to the powwows and coming and meeting up with the family. Like as I mentioned, when George Morrison was um, put on the forever stamp, they had a stamp opening at the Grand Portage Lodge and Casino, which was just incredible to attend because it was, I did not know George. I did not know Kathy, but I am proud that they are relatives and I went to support them. So yeah, I try to embrace being native as much as I can. It's not often that I get to see family members, but I keep updated with everyone through social medias, like to help out and lend my support and be as much of their family as I am as much as my adoptive family.
Are there things that you would like to see in adoption now that would have been better? Like what are the kinds of things that would be better alternatives that you feel connected to?
I think that the way that people can find research results nowadays, like with Ancestry and in Minnesota being a closed adoption law, it would be nice to see that you could open that up on a federal
Mhm.
wise, federal widespread ruling that but of course it's all handled by states. So um I I I believe in the fact that they should be open records. It's important, I think, for the adoptees to be able to look up if they want to the information. Sometimes the information that they find is not going to be what they were looking for. Most cases, it seems like it helps them to be able to identify with who they are,
Mhm.
at least from my experience with friends that have been in adoption and have had reconnected with their adopt or their birth families.
How are you passing your culture and the things you have learned about it down to them? Are they involved in the tribe also?
They are not involved. They've gone to the powwows with me. I've taken each daughter singly up to the powwow so we can experience it together, from the beginning of the weekend all the way through the end. Um, they loved it, um, but they can't identify that much with it. They still struggle with people calling me Cricket.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, at least they did when I was first learning about the family. But yeah, people still family members still call me Cricket. So yeah, they don't identify that much. I wish they would a little bit more, but like I said, I try to make sure that my grandchildren, my granddaughters, and my grandson like making sure they had moccasins when they were infants, and just to try to keep a sense of culture there. So I know that my daughter recognizes that, as especially since I just made them little native dresses and for them
Oh,
for the summer. So yeah, I'm always trying to create a way to knit that into who they are as well.
are they eligible to be part of the tribe or they are not?
I have been working on that. There that tribal blood, whole blood quantum situation is such a um, vast thing. I am working on trying to get them in, both my daughters enrolled. By paper, they should be enrolled, but my biological father, Tom Conklin, does not have his father listed on his birth certificate. And in order to do that, I need to get DNA testing with a half sibling of Tom Conklin's, and um, it's I found an aunt. I think I may have been a little too overzealous in trying to get ask for getting in DNA testing. So I'm just kind of waiting to see. It's always a struggle for something when it comes to my identity and culture. It seems like it's been like that all my life. Something I think I've learned to have patience with. So like I said, by law or by paper, they should be, but I just can't get it on paper. But yeah, maybe that would help with my daughters getting a little bit more culture related, if they actually became tribal members. I always wanted to search for my biological parents. Um, I started at the age of 18. I had wrote Catholic charities numerous times to try to get any information that I could. I was able to accomplish and get a 3-page letter, which captured non disclosure type um, information about my biological mother's family, how many brothers and sisters she had, and how old they were at the time of my adoption and all that. So, and I had an uncle. Catherine has a little brother who's blind. So I knew that there were at least 9 children in Kathy's family, and I knew that there was a blind brother. So that was the information that I posted on the adoption search site. And um, I started posting when the internet came out, and when ended up getting internet was probably around 97. I posted it on there, and it sat dormant on that search site until 2001, when my half sister decided to reach out and find me. Um, so Catherine married, once she became a model, she married Leonard Whiting, he played Romeo in the movie Romeo and Juliet, but back in the late 60s. Um, she had Sarah with Leonard Whiting. And then she ended up getting a divorce from Leonard, and she ended up marrying a musician by the name of Alan Merrill. And he was the guy who wrote the song that Joan Jett sings. That's the song, I Love Rock and Roll. Put
Oh
another
my
down.
goodness.
Yeah. So Alan Merrill was the writer for that song as well. So, and Kathy and Alan were married for, I believe, somewhere around 7 or 8 years, and then got divorced as well. So yeah, that information that I got trying to search when I was 18, I had that information with me until I was I still have it until I was 40, until I got that call from my sister Sarah. You know how long it took Sarah to find me on that adoption search board when she decided that she had the inkling to see if I was out there? It took her 6 hours.
Really?
She narrowed it down because she knew Cricket lived in Minnesota. She knew Cricket's birthday. She was able to search by Minneapolis, St. Paul, my birthday date, year, month, and I had posted that information on there that I had, and also by female. So
Right.
I had posted that information that I know she had 9 brothers and sisters, and there was a younger brother that was blind. And she said when she met that, or she saw that, she knew it was me instantly. And I had left my first name and my last name. She looked me up, and because I worked for the federal government at the time, you could put in that number or that name, and I have an unusual last name, Fedorko. She was able to find my work number, and she called me up at my work and left me a voicemail, and that's when I got to work at the coming back from a weekend in November. It's coming up on I was discovered on November 22nd from my sister Sarah. So that birthday is coming up again.
Well, that's wonderful how that happened. Thank goodness for that message board.
Yeah, I would like to see that change. I don't know how many states there are. I just know that there are still several states out there that have it closed off. So, but our current governor elect, lieutenant governor, is Native American, and she is also an adoptee, and she's part of that Native American adoptee group that I belong to. And I know she's done a great deal of work with the tribe. She's from the same tribe that my biological father is from, White Earth. So I think they are trying to do some strides in the adoption laws here in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah, that would be great. I know that there are a lot of people in a lot of states trying to get that paperwork to be open and able to be
Yeah.
read. Well, is there anything else that you want me to know, or anything else that you feel like we should learn from your story?
For me, not to ever give up. Like I said, I started at 18, and between 18 and 40, I gave up, picked it back up again, gave up, picked it back up again. And it just happened out of the blue, the reunion for me, and it was a positive reunion. One thing I want you to take away from the story is that, you know, have some patience, and don't be surprised what you find out, because you just might find out that, in order to try to identify with who your birth mother is only by seeing her on pictures of Vogue or Harper's Bazaar. I mean, that's something that I would have never believed would have ever happened. It's just, everybody's story is going to be different, and that I hope that it turns out in a good, positive way for everyone.
There are many Native American adoptees all over the country who aren't clear on their identity. Susan's story is a happy one of connection and reunion. We need to make sure the path is easier for Native American children and adoptees to maintain the connection to their tribe and their family. Find out more about Susan's story and her memoir on my website, adoptionuncovered.com. And thank you.